Hello everybody, welcome to Clarity Hands Crafts. It's Rachel here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make an ephemera piece with my bookmark blanks. These are available in my shop if you want to get them. They're ivory and made out of 300 GSM cards, so they give you a nice sturdy base to build up with lots of decoration and embellishment. I am going to be using this deco patch paper with the doily design on, and I'm just putting some Mod Podge in I think that one's the matte finish, and I'm just covering the front of the bookmark completely with that. The bookmarks come pre-scored so that you can just easily fold them in half and place a photograph or an embellishment behind that oval aperture as well. Now I've placed the deco patch paper over the top of the bookmark and I'm trimming it down to size. I probably should have used a larger pair of scissors. It took me a while to use these little ones, but I didn't have the other ones anywhere to hand. So just take those edges down, and you can trim once you've folded as well if it's easier. A small pair of scissors is handy when you're cutting out the inside of an aperture like this. And I'm not too worried about the kind of distressed edge because that's the look that I'm going for. This is to go in a shabby chic journal, so I want it to be shabby. So this was from a Stamperia paper pad, and it's just a little sentiment plaque. Cut that out with my scissors and then ink the edges up to get it looking nice and vintage. This paper pad's gorgeous. It was called Shabby Rose, I think, or no, it wasn't. Yeah, Shabby Rose. Now I've got these tiny little brads to attach that sentiment plaque to the front. But first I'm going to ink all of the edges of the bookmark. Get it looking nice and distressed and vintage. So that it's not so bright and modern looking. So to apply the brads I need to pierce some holes, and I use a piece of funky foam, put it underneath the bookmark, and then use a piercing tool to just place the holes where I want them. But placing that funky foam behind just catches the piercing tool so that you're not going into your desk, and it makes the hole a bit more pronounced as well. I think these brads were little Do Crafts ones, and I was picking out the silver tones. Splitting those at the back, and those won't be seen once the bookmark is closed. You could use these bookmarks to make a little booklet as well. So instead of adhering the side edge, you could just leave it open and then place some extra pages inside, and it could be a mini notebook. So I was playing around with some of the different things that I could put in the aperture, and eventually I decided to use some Hessian butterflies that I had in my stash. I did like the key, but I thought it would be too bulky to go in as a piece of ephemera in the journal that I've got. So I decided against it in the end. That oval shaped piece is another one from that Stamperia collection. And then that lacy thing that you can see is a net curtain that I bought from a charity shop. It's amazing what treasure you can find in a charity shop. So just playing around with the focal points that I could be using. I decided that those flowers were too bright and modern, so I stuck with the lace and the Hessian butterflies. These little words I made myself. I should make those available on the shop actually. It just adds a little bit of something to read. Added a tiny piece of Mod Podge to stick that down. The good thing about using wet glue is it means that you can slide things over when they're not quite in the right position. Whereas if you were using a tape roller or something like that, once it's stuck, so it can be a bit difficult to move things. So that oval is slightly smaller than the aperture itself, but I decided that I like the ivory border that it leaves around. You can't really see it very well anyway when it's behind the lace, but I just thought it might add a bit of contrast to leave that in. Ink the edges to make the contrast a bit more noticeable. And decide which way around it goes. So this is tacky glue that I'm using to stick it down. And then decide which area of the lace that I'm going to use. So I wanted some of the pattern to show behind, so that's why I chose a bit that had quite an open weave. And it's just got some of that pattern design coming in at the top and the bottom. Now when you're sandwiching something bulky, you'll need plenty of glue to stick the rest of the card down. So a good wet glue is the best option. And that'll stop things from peeling open. So I've overlapped slightly and I'm just going to trim that little tiny sliver of an edge off. And then ink it just to make sure that it all ties together. Now I'm deciding on the placement of those little butterfly embellishments. I think these were by Bits and Basics, which is a really useful range for making junk journals. I use them all the time. They do nice Scrabble tiles and little envelopes and mini notebooks and things to go inside. I'm just grabbing my Crocodile Big Bite to punch the hole, but you can just use a normal hole punch if you go over it like I have. Now I've got these small pearl embellishments, which I sometimes have in the shop, so you can watch out for those. And I added those to just add a bit of visual interest and an extra texture as well. Now, because they were so small, I didn't want to do just a couple, so I made sure that I added plenty of those pearls. And I was really happy with the way that they looked. then I'm just balancing out the bottom as well by adding that detail. The final touch was to take this to the sewing machine and stitch around the edges. It gives it a nice border, another element of interest to look at. As you can see, it darkens it down a bit more. And then just add a piece of jute twine into the hole. So thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you again in the next video. Bye!